Have you ever sat beside someone nearing the end of life and felt completely unsure what to say? It's a moment so delicate, so full of weight, that even words meant to comfort can land in the wrong place. One of the most common phrases people say is, "I know what you're going through." But the truth is, we don't. Even if we've experienced illness or loss, we can't fully understand another person's final journey. Each one is shaped by memories, fears, and private hopes that no one else can see. When we say, "I understand," we may unintentionally dismiss the sacred, personal path they're walking. I once met a man named Charles, 82 years old, who told me quietly, "It's not the illness that hurts most, it's when people think they know what I feel, without even asking." Those words stayed with me. Because behind every dying person is a story we haven't heard yet. And sometimes, what they need most is someone who's willing to listen. Charles didn't ask for advice. He didn't want solutions or encouragement. What he longed for was presence, pure, quiet, honest presence. To sit with him. To ask nothing. To hold space for his feelings without trying to fix them. When someone is dying, even small words can feel large. That's why a simple sentence can carry more weight than a dozen reassurances. Like this one. "I can't imagine what this feels like for you, but I'm here." That phrase acknowledges their pain without claiming to own it. It offers respect, not platitudes. It says, "Your experience is unique, and I honor it." In moments like these, it's not wisdom that's needed. It's willingness to be still. When we replace assumptions with compassion, and replace the urge to speak with the choice to simply stay, we give something deeper than comfort. We give dignity. And at the end of life, dignity can mean more than anything else. There's another phrase people often say, thinking it will help. "Stay positive." Or, "Keep fighting." But for someone who is dying, these words can feel heavy. Not because they're wrong, but because they ask too much. Imagine being at the edge of your strength, and still being told to push harder. That kind of pressure can leave a person feeling unseen. Like their exhaustion isn't allowed. Like their quiet surrender is a disappointment. But dying isn't failure. It's not weakness. It's a natural, human part of life. And for many, it takes more courage to let go than to hold on. When we tell someone to stay strong, we might be ignoring the very thing they need most: permission to rest. Permission to stop pretending. Permission to simply be, exactly as they are, without needing to perform for anyone's comfort. I remember Helen, 79 years old, a quiet woman with tired eyes. She once told me that the hardest part of dying wasn't the illness itself, it was feeling like no one saw how exhausted she really was. Every time someone said, "You can beat this," she felt more alone. Because deep down, she knew her body was failing. She didn't need more cheerleading. She needed to be allowed to rest. To stop fighting. What gave her peace was when someone looked into her eyes and said, "I'm here with you, no matter what happens." That one sentence brought her more strength than all the encouragement in the world. Because it told her, "You don't have to earn our love by being strong. You are already enough." At the end of life, words like these are not about giving hope in the future. They're about offering comfort in the now. And for someone who's tired of pretending to be brave, that kind of honesty is the deepest kindness you can give. There's another phrase that's often said with good intention, but can land the wrong way. "It's all part of a bigger plan." At first, it sounds comforting, like a reminder that this moment, no matter how painful, has meaning. But to the person who is dying, it might feel like their pain is being explained away. Like they shouldn't feel what they feel because it's meant to be. The truth is, not everyone finds peace in that idea. And when we offer spiritual explanations too quickly, we might miss the chance to truly connect. Ruth, 84, once whispered, "I don't want answers. I just want someone to be with me, quietly." She didn't need a reason for her suffering. She needed presence. Sometimes the most healing thing we can do is let people sit in their pain without rushing to tidy it up. Because what matters isn't fixing the moment. It's being there for it. What do you say when someone near the end begins to cry? Many people instinctively respond with, "Don't cry." Or, "Be strong." But for someone who is dying, being told not to cry can feel like being told to hide their truth. As if their emotions are too much. As if their sadness is a burden. But the truth is, at the end of life, those emotions are not just normal. They're sacred. Walter, 80, once told me that what helped him the most was being able to cry in front of his daughter, without being told to hold it in. "My tears," he said, "were my way of saying goodbye." That moment wasn't weakness. It was strength in the form of honesty. We don't need to protect people from their own feelings. What we need is to sit beside them and let them feel. Crying isn't giving up. It's releasing something too deep for words. And when we allow that to happen, without fixing or silencing, we give the gift of acceptance. Emotions at the end of life come in waves, sometimes calm, sometimes overwhelming. And yet, there's often pressure to keep it together. Friends may say, try to stay positive, or don't be afraid. But behind those words is a quiet message. I need you to make this easier for me. That's not fair to the person who is dying. They're already carrying so much. They shouldn't have to comfort others too. Samuel, 84, found peace when his sister whispered, "You can feel whatever you need to feel, and I'll be here with you." That simple statement gave him permission to stop performing, and to start being real. We often think of strength as smiling through pain. But sometimes, true strength is found in allowing someone to be completely honest. In letting them feel broken, scared, or even angry, without trying to change it. When we allow that kind of emotional freedom, we help someone feel seen, maybe for the first time in a long while. Another phrase that often comes from love, but can cause quiet pain, is, "You're going to get better." We say it because we want to give hope. We say it because we're not ready to let go. But for someone who already knows their time is near, those words can feel like a dismissal of their truth. It's like saying, "Please pretend with me, so I don't have to face what's real." That can be incredibly lonely. Because it tells them their honesty, their readiness to talk about death, isn't welcome. Eileen, 83, once said, "The people who brought me the most peace weren't the ones who told me I'd get better. They were the ones who sat beside me and said, 'I'm here, and I care.'" No false promises. No need to fight. Just quiet, loving presence. Sometimes, the most respectful thing we can offer is truth wrapped in kindness. "I don't know what's coming next, but I'll walk with you through it." That's the kind of comfort that reaches the heart. Many people try to offer comfort by saying, "Everything happens for a reason." They mean well. They want the moment to feel purposeful. But to someone who is dying, that phrase can feel cold, detached. It suggests that their suffering fits into a story they didn't choose. But not everyone believes that. And not everyone needs that. Henry, 85, was clear about this. He said, "I'm not looking for a reason. I'm looking for someone to be with me while I go through this." He wasn't searching for explanation. He was searching for presence. For someone to sit beside him and say nothing at all. At the end of life, meaning is something personal. Something a person must find in their own way. We can't hand it to them. But we can offer the space for them to discover it themselves, with us quietly at their side. Be strong. It's a phrase we hear often. We're taught that strength means holding back tears, keeping emotions in check, and pushing through pain without complaint. But for someone who is dying, those expectations can feel like chains. When we tell them to stay strong, we may not realize we're asking them to carry even more, to protect our feelings, to pretend they're not afraid, to hold back tears they desperately need to release. But what if strength looked different? What if true strength was allowing someone to fall apart in front of us, and simply being there to hold the space? No fixing, no pressure, just presence. A man named Gerald once said, "I spent my life trying to be strong for others. But now, I just want someone to tell me it's okay to not be okay." That honesty isn't weakness. It's freedom. So next time you're with someone nearing the end, try this instead. "You don't have to be strong for me. You can just be you. And mean it." There's something sacred about tears, especially at the end of life. They hold what words cannot. But too often, when someone begins to cry, we rush in with a tissue and say, "Don't cry." We mean well. We want to ease their pain. But in that moment, we might accidentally send a message. "Your sadness makes me uncomfortable. Please hide it." And that can feel like a wall. Like their grief is too messy for the room. But crying is not weakness. It's a form of release. A final language when all others fail. I once sat with a man who said nothing for 10 minutes. Just wept. And when he was done, he looked at me and whispered, "Thank you for letting me cry." That was all he needed. Someone who could sit with his sorrow without trying to change it. So next time tears come, don't rush to wipe them away. Let them fall. Let the silence stretch. Because in that space, real connection is born. Few phrases shut down emotion faster than this one. At least you had a long life. At least you're surrounded by family. At least you're not in pain anymore. These statements try to reframe loss. But they can also dismiss what someone is truly feeling. When a person is dying, they may still be grieving. Not just their future, but pieces of their past. They'll never get back. By saying "at least," we risk minimizing that grief. Turning something sacred into something polite. There was a woman named Grace who once said, "Every time someone told me 'at least,' I felt like my sadness was being swept away before I could even name it." Instead of saying, "At least you try this. That sounds really hard. Would you like to talk more about it?" That shift opens the door to presence, to dignity, to giving someone permission to feel all that they need to feel. Another phrase that's often meant to help, but can quietly wound, is, "You should be grateful." Grateful for the time you had. Grateful for family. Grateful that it's not worse. But when someone is dying, they may not feel grateful at all. They may feel scared, angry, lost. And that's okay. Telling someone how they should feel, even with the best intentions, can sound like this: your real emotions are wrong. But emotions at the end of life are raw and real, and no one needs to earn the right to feel them. I remember an elderly man who said, "They tell me to be grateful, but no one asks what I've lost." That one sentence broke something open in me, because his grief was valid. His pain was sacred. And until we let people feel what's real, without dressing it up, they'll continue to suffer silently. Sometimes, the kindest thing to say is, "You don't have to feel grateful right now. You can feel whatever's in your heart." When we don't know what to say, we often say too much. We fill the silence with advice, with hope, with words we hope will make everything better. But sometimes, silence is the most powerful comfort of all. Just sitting there, holding their hand, letting them speak, or not speak, letting them feel, without being interrupted. I once watched a nurse kneel beside a woman. In her final hours, the nurse didn't say a word. She just rested her hand on the woman's arm. And that simple gesture meant everything. Later, the woman whispered, "She didn't try to fix me. She just stayed." And in those last moments, what else is truly needed? You don't have to say the perfect thing. You don't have to speak at all. Your quiet presence might be the greatest gift you ever give. Because love doesn't always need words. People often try to comfort the dying by saying, "You're lucky to have had such a full life." And yes, sometimes that's true. But sometimes, that sentence can sting. Because no matter how full a life may have been, the end still hurts. There's still loss. There's still things left undone. Words left unsaid. Dreams that will never be. Saying, "You're lucky," can feel like a dismissal. As if they don't have the right to feel grief or sadness anymore. But even the luckiest life ends with a goodbye. And that goodbye deserves to be honored, not glossed over. I once heard a woman say, "I know I've had a good life, but right now, I'm still scared. And I wish someone would sit with me in that." That's what she needed. Not a reminder of what she had, but comfort for what she was losing. So instead of saying, "You're lucky, try this. This must be so hard. Would it help if I stayed here with you for a while?" Because luck doesn't cancel out grief. And even gratitude can live beside sadness. It can be tempting to guide someone's emotions, especially when we're uncomfortable ourselves. We say things like, "Don't be scared. Try to stay cheerful. You shouldn't feel that way." But these words can feel like judgment wrapped in comfort. They don't just dismiss fear. They silence it. And for someone who's dying, that silence can be suffocating. Because what they often need most is freedom. Freedom to say, "I'm afraid," or "I'm angry," or even, "I'm not ready." Telling them how they should feel can take away their last moments of honesty. I remember Samuel. He was quiet, soft-spoken, and full of emotion he rarely let out. But one day, his sister whispered, "You can feel whatever you need to feel. I'm not going anywhere." And in that moment, Samuel wept. Not because he was weak, but because he finally felt safe to be real. We don't have to steer emotions. We just have to hold space for them. Gently, and without agenda. When someone we care about is dying, it's natural to want to help, to offer advice, to share what helped us, or what we think might ease their fear. We might say things like, "You should try this," or, "When my uncle went through this, he did that." But here's the thing. Advice often puts the focus back on us. And in their final days, they don't want to hear what worked for someone else. They want to feel heard, understood, respected in their own experience. I once sat with a man named Thomas. He was quiet, thoughtful. The kind of man who didn't speak unless he meant it. When a friend tried to give him a list of supplements and therapies, he simply looked at him and said, "I don't need more ideas. I just need someone who won't walk away." That stayed with me. Because love, in those final days, isn't about solutions. It's about staying present. Even when there's nothing left to fix. Especially then. Laughter can be healing. But at the end of life, not all jokes land the way we hope. Sometimes, we try to lighten the mood with humor. We say things like, "Don't go dying on me just yet," or, "Well, you'll be the life of the party up there." We mean it playfully. A way to ease tension. But for someone who is dying, those jokes can feel like a wall. Like we're too uncomfortable to sit with their pain. A woman once told me, "People keep laughing around me. Like if they make it funny enough, I won't feel like I'm dying." She didn't want a performance. She wanted permission to be serious. To be seen in the full weight of her truth. Humor isn't wrong. But it should never be used to cover what's real. If you're not sure what to say, you don't have to reach for a joke. Just be there. Listen. Let the moment be what it is. Without needing to dress it up in laughter. Because sometimes, the most respectful response is quiet honesty. So many people worry about saying the wrong thing. They ask, what if I mess it up? What if I say something that makes it worse? But here's the truth. You don't need perfect words. In fact, most people won't remember what you said. They'll remember how you made them feel. They'll remember whether you stayed, whether you listened, whether you let them be exactly who they were, even in their final days. One man told me, "I don't want a speech. I want a hand to hold." That was it. No wisdom. No advice. Just presence. So if you ever find yourself next to someone who is dying, don't pressure yourself to say something profound. Breathe. Be still. Be available. Because in the end, what matters most is not your ability to speak, but your willingness to stay. Fully. Gently. Without needing to fix a single thing. In the quiet hours near the end of life, the smallest gestures become everything. A hand on the shoulder. A soft breath beside the bed. A whisper that says, "You are not alone." That's what people remember. Not the perfect sentence. Not the polished words. But the presence of someone who chose to stay. This video wasn't meant to give you a script, but to remind you that love, at its most honest, doesn't always need words. So, when the time comes, when you're beside someone who's nearing their final chapter, don't focus on saying the right thing. Focus on being the right presence. Gentle, open, real. And if you don't know what to say, you can always say this: "I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere." That sentence, spoken with sincerity, can become the softest place for someone to rest. And in that, you've already said more than enough.